carefully. In his master's steps he trod, where the snow lay dinted. It was in the very sod which the saint had printed. Therefore Christian memory showed the old possessing. Ye who now will bless the poor, shall yourself find blessing.
Nothing happened, I went, oh my god, that is priceless. Oh, I got off so funny.
Broadcasting it.
Oh, he took it out, it was funny though.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Yeah. Lawrence has got a good voice.
I know, it came out when it goes quiet. I'm singing, I went, have you heard my singing?
Of course, now you can just wear your mask and a mime, can't you?
I've all gone quiet. What's the matter with you?
We were enjoying your singing.
I would like you to keep making a noise, then I know where you are.
Yes, we also have a lovely voice you had, Laurie.
Yes, and stop standing there laughing at me when I'm trying to blow out a match with me mask on. So nasty. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
How lovely to see you all here. And a very good afternoon to everybody watching us live at home. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to Fiona, who will be the online moderator and welcoming you into the virtual congregation. Thank you very much, Fiona. Great pleasure to introduce two lovely young gentlemen.
Yeah.
Where are they? Where'd they go? Alan, Geoff Potts. Gentlemen, thank you so much. It is always such a pleasure when you serve our church. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Without further ado, Geoff, if I could ask for the opening blessing, please. Thank you.
Let us be still, and within the power, let us sit within the power of the Spirit. Divine and creative Spirit, whom we call our Father God, we come to you again in love, in sincerity and humility, asking that during these very difficult times in our life, that we be given the strength and the courage to go forward with the knowledge of knowing that everything is possible. Everything is possible within your love, your light and your power. We think of those, of course, naturally, who are sitting on beds of sickness, those who are sick in body, mind and spirit, and especially those at this time who have this coronavirus. We ask that your healing angels will come to touch each and every one of them according to their individual needs, and that if it be thy will, they be returned to full measure of health and strength once more. We think of the animal kingdom, many of them who are suffering at this time because of the coronavirus, not through that virus alone, but being given less of an opportunity to be loved by those people who maybe cannot afford them. So we ask that your healing angels will touch the animal kingdom as well, and all of nature. We ask for the children of this world, for they indeed are the future of this beautiful planet. And we ask that as responsible adults, we reach out and touch the children with your love, your knowledge and your inspiration, so that through that they may take a better pathway through their lives, teaching their children the correct way forward. And we think once again of the animal kingdom, that we will treat the animals with the love that they truly deserve, and not use them for cruel sports, vivisection or experimentation, but give them back the love that they give to us so freely. And now we leave this, our service, in your care and keeping, asking only that all that is said and done will be of the very highest and best, and to the honour and the glory of thy name, which is eternal love. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful prayer. And now, if you care to, please join in saying the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thine will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And leave us not when in temptation, but deliver us from all evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. Thank you. And now, Geoff, I believe, with the
Yes.
reading followed by the address. Thank you, sir.
Well, a very good afternoon, friends. Lovely to see you on this horrible day, isn't it? But never mind, we're all alive, so we should be joyous. Al has chosen a reading entitled Spiritualism and Jesus. It is often said that the founders of the great world religions all taught the same religion, and yet those separate religions have become so different that today some of their followers are willing to kill each other to prove the superiority of Jesus, Muhammad, Krishna, or whichever master they follow. And it is only when we realize that Jesus was not a Christian, nor Muhammad, Mohammedan, or Buddha, a Buddhist, that we begin to grasp the fallacy of sectarianism. For not one of these individuals came to promote himself as a leader of a vast religious empire on earth. They each came to humbly teach the only religion there has ever been. This religion was a very simple one which combined just three teachings. Firstly, the idea of a central creative force, which we recognize as the fatherhood of God. Secondly, that all men are brothers. And thirdly, that all life has a spiritual foundation. We can call these the universal teachings because they are common to all major religions of the earth. We could find the same pattern of these teachings if we followed the life of any of the masters. But in the Western world, the one we are most familiar with, of course, is Jesus of Nazareth. And if we follow the stories we have of the gentle Jesus, we can clearly identify the universal teachings and how they were projected in his ministry. He taught his followers to look to God, not to himself. That which I do, ye can also do. He told his followers as if to deny the godship that people claimed for him and to point out that part of God which lies within each of us and which can work through us. He always pointed out that when a miracle occurred, it did so because God was working through him. And throughout his ministry, he referred to our Father. The second teaching, the brotherhood of man, he expressed in a way of life and in the giving of his other commandments, that thou shalt love one another. He illustrated it in his parables, such as the one about the Good Samaritan. In this, he emphasized that we should not see brotherhood as something between fellow Jews, fellow Pharisees, or fellow Englishmen, but as something without exclusion or limitation. It was a revolutionary teaching in those days, and properly applied, it is equally revolutionary today. But it was in the so-called miracles that Jesus demonstrated his spiritual foundation, which underlies our lives. At Jacob's well, he told a woman of Samaria that she had 5 husbands, and that the man that she was now living with was not in fact married to her. At the Transfiguration, a mountaintop seance, the spirit of Moses and Elias materialize. This is the only New Testament account of such a seance, but it shows clearly that Jesus was familiar with the procedure. His healings were innumerable and served to show how a healing on a spiritual level could dictate a cure on a physical level, thus demonstrating that matter is subservient to spirit. But at all times he resisted personal glory, because he knew that if his followers became too preoccupied with his charisma, his message would only take second place. And that, of course, is what happened from the time of St. Paul. It is worthy to note, too, that Muhammad was aware of this same danger and actually repudiated any attempt during his own lifetime to declare him the Son of Allah, proclaiming that he was merely a prophet and that his followers should try not to get too carried away. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, friends, and I trust that you're all well, fit and well. You must be, because you're here this afternoon. It's always nice to see you and to see familiar faces. I chose that particular reading, which to some people might be a little controversial. But you know, coming up this next week, we are celebrating the birth of a child that came to this earth plane. A child that came into a world that was full of strife and disagreement, similar to what we often have now in our everyday lives here. And yet he came in pure, humble, and without sin, just as each and every one of us, when we are born into this earth plane, we are coming without sin. It's only when we live a life on this earth plane and we are impressed by those around us that we lose that. But when Jesus came, he was threatened from his very birth, because he was told by the wise men that he was of the house of David and he would become the king of the Jews. And that put fear into the heart of Herod. So he decided that he'd have every boy that was born on that day to have their lives taken. And so Mary and Jesus were warned, and they fled from Bethlehem over to take that child somewhere safe. And it saved his life, because if they had just stayed where they were, then he would have been in terrible trouble. But from that time, religions have built up. And we have so many nowadays, don't we, that we just don't quite know what to follow. But you know, as the reading said, spiritualism has a lot in common with Jesus, and yet I know that there are some spiritualists who would deny Jesus. I can never understand that, because the teachings of Jesus are as relevant today as they were all those 2,000 and more years ago. But the problem today is that the teachers, the masters like Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, they all came with a special message, a message of God's love. The most powerful thing in this entire universe. A love and a power that lies within each and every one of us. You know, I remember when I was brought up in the Church of England, and I never knock it, because we learned an awful lot through that teaching, that I was taught that God was a little old man who sat on a throne. And of course I've come to understand that, you know, that as we move on, things change, we progress. And I know now that God is that universal consciousness, that power that lies within everything that lives, moves, and has its being throughout this universe. And so somewhere along the way, the simple message that Jesus of Nazareth and other masters brought to this earth plane has become somewhat lost. And the emphasis has become more on the messenger, which is a sad thing because in a sense we've lost the true message that each one of those masters brought to this earth plane. Love thy neighbor. You know, that's such a wonderful thing. How many of us, unfortunately, will sometime in our lifetime live next door to, as they call it on the TV, the neighbor from hell? I think we've all experienced it at some time or other, or disagreements because they think their fence is 3 inches further over than it should be. And there we find out the differences, the human differences, not the spiritual differences, but the human differences which come to us as we progress through our lives, you know. Progression is something that has to be accepted because we have to progress as we move through this life. I know from being a child how much things have changed since I've become 39 and a bit. And, you know, if I look back on my childhood, gosh, the things that we did then were really quite innocent. They might not have seemed like it at the time, but compared to some things that we see in today's life, we were quite innocent. And yet we've had to move on. And you see, we have to accept change. Because it says life can be either accepted or changed. And this is what Winston Churchill said. If it is not accepted, it must be changed. If it is not changed, it must be accepted. And so whether or not we like what is happening in our world today, we must accept that change is necessary. You know, the planets all revolve, all move around because they have to be reborn again in a sense, you know. And if they're not, everything would stagnate. And it's the same in our lives. You know, what I thought and believed in years ago as a child, it was a good foundation for how I believe today. And that I will never deny. You know, there may be differences of opinion, but then that's what life is about. You know, if we all thought the same, we're all on the same level of thought, wouldn't it be a boring world? You know, we'd never have a disagreement. We'd just nod our heads all the time and say, well, okay. But life is all about learning and growing, and we learn through those mistakes. And you know, it wasn't until Mary and Joseph felt that it was safe to bring the baby Jesus back to Nazareth that they ventured. And I believe that they took him, they fled to Egypt with him, and he was educated there for a while. And of course, the 3 wise men, as they're referred to, were actually wonderful teachers, mediums. They knew that this child was going to be born. Well, how did they know? Nobody wrote them a letter and said, look forward to this. They knew through their spiritual connections that this child was going to be born, and this child would bring change into our world, which, as the reading said, was revolutionary at that time. And if Jesus came back through those doors today, his teaching would probably, for some, still be revolutionary, because he will have progressed from his high state in the spirit world. But you know, Jesus, he was absolutely incredible because he stood up for what he truly believed in, the message that he brought from that universal consciousness that we refer to as God. He truly believed every word of that, and he was determined he would take that teaching out amongst the multitudes, and there were those who wanted to listen to him, and others who had no interest at all. They weren't interested in change. As far as they were concerned, They had found their truth, and that was it. How many of us have found our truth? Our truth that is personal to us. And that's the beauty of it. When we have found it, it is personal to us. It may not be exactly the same as our neighbor or our friends can accept, but it's right for us. And that's how it should be. It should be sit well with us and be right for us. Because then that will take us through our lives, and it will teach us some of the things that Jesus was born to bring into this earth plane. The love of God. That's the most powerful thing that we have within us, love. But you see, it's no use at all unless we share it. We keep it to ourselves, well, that's totally, useless. And the idea was that we took that love, that pure element, out into everyone that we come into contact with. And we share it with them. Yes, it's not easy, I know. We can't love everyone in the way that we would like to. But what we can do is we can understand the differences and the reasons why maybe they don't agree with us, and still show them that love. Despite that, show them the love. Because, the only way that we will reach other people is by them seeing that love within each and every one of us. People read us, don't they? I always say the eyes are the most wonderful thing. They're the windows of the soul. And we might lie through our teeth. But look at the eyes and they give us away, don't they? Every time. And so, if we're telling the truth and people see that, they will see the love within us through the sparkle and the shining of our eyes. And of course, Jesus, that child, was so innocent and so beautiful. And that is why those people who came from afar, the shepherds and the wise men, came. Because they came because they realized this special child that was going to bring the elements of that power of God into this physical world and hopefully make a change. Unfortunately, as I said just before, it is the messenger that the emphasis has been placed upon, and we must get back to the message, because that is what Jesus didn't want to have praise piled upon him. Muhammad, Buddha, Jesus said, he called God my Father. And just as we all understand that God is our Father, and we all belong to that fatherhood of God, that brotherhood of man. And if we look upon God as the creator of everything and everyone, as our spiritual father, then we must then become brothers and sisters in spirit. So there's always a reaction to everything, and there's always a fear in everything. But what does fear cause? It fears a reaction within us, a negative reaction. But if we have courage, courage is a decision. Once we find that courage to stand up for what we're all about, for what we truly believe in, then we too can make a change in this world. Now, we celebrate on the 25th of December, the birth of Jesus. It may not be the 25th of December, but does it matter? Does it matter whether it's February, September, July? It doesn't matter. We're celebrating the birth of this child who came to change how we live our lives upon this earth plane. And you'll always have those that will argue and say, oh, that date was all made up. But for me, it's immaterial, it doesn't matter. We're celebrating a wonderful master and teacher who came, who made it his decision to come into this earth plane. He could have just said, no, I'm not going to do that. But he decided to come and to help you and I, the people of that time, to look to a more spiritual life, a more fulfilling life, a life of love, a life of giving and sharing. And this Christmas time is all about, the life full of joy and sharing and giving and receiving. It's not about how much is this gift going to cost me. You know, my mother was always funny. I used to laugh at my mother. She was so innocent. But she would get a Christmas card in and would have a £5 note in, you know. And she would say, oh, Auntie Dorothy sent me £5 for my Christmas. So she'd get my Auntie Dorothy's card out and put £5 in that and send it back to her. And I used to say, but Mum, you're just giving her back what she's given you. And she said, I know, but that's the way it works, you see. But what we're doing is we're putting a value on the gift. I have to say, I watched the royal family on television, I think it was last week or the week before, about how they spend their Christmases, except for this one, of course, and how they give each other, not expensive gifts, but silly little things. And they all say thank you, and they have a look at it, and they laugh, and they enjoy it. What happened to simplicity? You know, someone gives us a simple gift, we think, oh, as soon as they've turned their back, we put it to one side, you know. We're all guilty of it. We've all done it. Oh, handkerchiefs again. Oh, you know. It's not the value of the gift. It's that the gift was given with love. That is the main thing, given from the heart. And if we can truly do that, I always think it's the most wonderful thing we can do. I would rather not be given a gift at all, rather than be given a gift begrudgingly because I bought someone else a gift. I'm not a great one for gifts, to tell you the truth. Geoff and I are going to be celebrating a big birthday on the 23rd, and I really don't want any gifts. I know that might sound selfish, but I don't feel it's necessary. I think by the time we reach this stage of life, we've got most of the things that we've either want or we've gotten rid of. But that's life, isn't it? It is life. But, you know, there will be those who will give, and then they should be received graciously, I know. But I never think it's necessary. As long as I see love coming from someone, that's the best gift you can give anybody. Absolutely, without a doubt. So let us celebrate this Christmas time. Let us celebrate the birth of that wonderful child who, without his coming to this earth plane, we would probably be living quite a different life now. He brought that spark of God's love into each and every one of us and told us that that spark resides within each and every one of us. Let us feel that love. Let us understand it. And most of all, let us share it with everyone that we come into contact. It is the most wonderful present that we can give anybody. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was brilliant, absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us today.
Thank you.
We now move on to the healing time of the service. And we'd invite you now just to start to relax. And today's healing meditation is inspired. We've got so many friends now in our virtual congregation out in the Nordic countries. And today's a special day celebrated over there. And it's San Lucia Day. And this is a day when out in all these Nordic countries, Denmark, Sweden, all of those, people will light candles to bring in the light at this, the darkest time of year. And that's a wonderful tradition. And it's got immense spiritual understanding. As spiritualists, we should always be inviting in that light. So as you become more and more comfortable, I'd just like you to imagine just a blank canvas. Whatever colour comes to your mind is absolutely fine. It's your meditation, not to be dictated. But in that blank canvas, in the very centre, just become aware of a small beam of light starting to grow noticeably, starting to fill that canvas. And once you have filled that canvas with that beautiful, soft, gentle light, allow yourself to be the channel for that light, to send it out to those that we know, those that we don't know or have heard of, our friends, our families, and our foes. And just send that pure light, that light of healing, which is given so freely and without bound.
Natten går tunga fjät runt gård och stuva, kring jord som soln förlät, skuggorna ruva. Drömmar med vingesus under oss sea, tänd dina vita ljus, Sankta Lucia. Trollsejd och mörkermakt, ljusstupet vingar, signade lågors vakt, skydd åt oss bringar. Drömmar med vingesus under oss sea, tänd dina vita ljus, Sankta Lucia. Stjärnor som leda oss, vägen att finna, bli dina klara blås, fagra prästinna. Drömmar med vingesus under oss sea, tänd dina vita ljus, Sankta Lucia. Drömmar med vingesus under oss sea, tänd dina vita ljus, Sankta Lucia.
Just bring yourself back, gently, gently, and just give thanks for being part of that healing process, and knowing too that you have received healing through the art of giving. Amen. And I did forget to say to our special friends out in especially Denmark, hey, willkommen. I am practicing my Danish. It's not getting very far, but we are getting there. Gentlemen, I hand over to you once more. Thank you.
Well, once again, friends, I have to say that I've probably been to everybody in the church over the times that we've served here. However, that's can't be helped. But can I just say that spiritualism, as I always say, is about life. And I think Jesus brought a wonderful life upon this earth plane. So we mustn't think of spiritualism as dull, but of life, because it talks only about living. I want to come to you, my darling. I know I probably have been to you before, but I can't help it because I've had a lady pestering me whilst I've been sat down there and saying, you better not go to somebody else, because this lady would speak her mind. I feel I'm on a motherly link with this lady. I feel if I'm looking at you, darling, I'm looking at quite a big likeness with Mum, if you understand me. I'm not seeing her, I have to be perfectly honest, but it's just that energy that she's bringing around, because she had an energy with her, you know. No nonsense, lady. Don't try to get one over on me, you know. That's the way she's making me feel. But a very caring and loving lady, you know. Very caring. And I don't know why, darling, but when I was sat there, she was talking about a sadness around the Christmas time going back.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
And she said that every time Christmas comes around, although it's not as bad as it used to be, there still is that little feeling of sadness around, if you understand. Yes. But you know, those who have moved over, far happier than we are here. They have a wonderful life. They don't have to worry about pain and suffering and all the different things that we have to put up with. And so they're very happy. And they're also very happy to come around us, not only at the Christmas time, more so, you know, because of families that always get together at the Christmas time, but at any time that we need them, they're there. We only have to think of them and they're there. Darling, just a moment, because I've got... I don't know why somebody's taken me to London. Do you understand? Because all of a sudden somebody said to me, mention London. I don't know why, but they just said mention London. There must be memories going back to London. Yes, that's nice. And she said, yes, hard times. Oh boy, hard times, she said. But we didn't let it bother us. We got on with life and of living. You know, and she said the one good thing was the people around us, whether it be family or neighbours, everybody helped one another. And that was, even though there was wars and things like that, the good things that came out of the wars, it brought people close together. Very many happy times. I don't know if you ever knew anybody that used to dress up like the pearly kings and queens, because all of a sudden I've got buttons and things going all over me here, you know. And it's just, and the old Kent Road and My Old Man says follow the van, all the songs coming in, just as happy memories, you know, especially this time of year, you know, especially this time of year. And they're saying, we'll be with you on Christmas Day, don't worry. You can set a couple of places out, extra places if you want to, you know. But it said, we'll be with you. We wouldn't miss it. And that shows, you know, that message that Jesus brought, that life was eternal. Isn't that the most wonderful thing that we have in our religion? Life is, we know it's eternal. We don't have to be told. We know it is. And that's why these wonderful families and friends come back to bring their messages of love to you. You're very loved, you know, my darling. I don't know whether you're aware of it, but from the world of spirit, you are very much... I've got a gentleman coming in as well, darling, just a moment. I've got a gentleman coming in who was quite a nice character as well. Can I say, I'm not seeing him, but I feel he might have been a little bit taller than me. I'm not terribly heavy, but I'm not skinny, but I'm not. But I feel a little bit maybe rounder than I was. But a gentleman, once again, I feel he might have liked a little tipple from medicinal, you know. That's what he's joking with me like. He said, I liked a little one now. Not a heavy drink, I don't feel, but just a one now and again, you know. I don't know who Albert is, darling. I just heard that in my ear, Albert. And also I've got a Robert or a Bob.
A Bob.
Bob, yeah. I know some people call Bob, it's the shorten it from Robert, but he wants to be remembered. Also, oh, now that's not a name you hear very often. I've just heard the name of Jessie.
Yes, yes.
Jessie. That's unusual. You don't hear that name very much today, do you? She wants to be remembered as well. There must have been some really good times in your family at Christmas, my darling, because they're all joining in. There must have been a real happy time, you know, and a good knees up. Good knees up, because that's what they want you to have. Have a good knees up, she said. You won't be on your own this Christmas. You better believe that, she says, for sure, because I'll make sure you know I'm here, she says. So if you see some things being moved or you hear some knockings down, you'll know she's there. She's there. She said, I wouldn't miss it for the world, my darling. Barbara, I don't know who Barbara is, darling. That's just come in my ear. And there must be a Tom or a Thomas somewhere around as well. They're all trying to come in because it's Christmas, you see. And they're saying, pull a cracker for us, will you? And have a good laugh when you do it. Because we'll be having a good laugh from the world of spirit. Well, she says, do you know what your mum just said? Fancy saying from the world of spirit. The world of spirit is here, and she knows that. We're all around her. She only has to think about this. But so much love. The month, yes, I just said December, didn't I? About bring yes. Also, February, there must be an anniversary birthday in February. And I could take you to May and June as well. Okay, well, I won't take all the time up because I'll let Al have some. But they just want to surround you with their love all the time, but especially at this Christmas. Will you take their love, darling? Thank you.
So you don't have to, you know, make excuses. I mean,
No, I'm not.
I like the bit about I'm not very heavy. And this particular time when we're sitting watching the telly when there's nothing else to do in the evenings, shall we have a biscuit or two? Or if you like us, you are putting on the weight. I know I want to come to my lady at the back there with the lovely purple scarf on, darling. I mean, if you want to lift your mask down, that's fine, because it's sometimes easier, isn't it? And I know I have your mother with me. I know for sure, and I know that she would have worn glasses too, like you do, but then I don't get the feeling she's terribly tall, darling. And because she was actually sitting down when she came to me, so I had to assume that when she stood up, she wasn't going to be that much taller, you know. And I just felt when she came to, you know, she said something which I have to tell you what she showed me first of all. She talked to me about a plumber. Now, I didn't, then she showed me a shower or something leaking. Does that make any sense to you, darling? Not at the moment. Oh dear. No, I'm not going to bring you bad news, don't worry. I really believe that she was showing me that, so I knew that the plumber was right, you see. And I do know that there was somebody that was a plumber on the earth plane, darling.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, okay then. It must just be that he used to fix, you know, showers and things, the way she said it to me. And she kind of had a laugh as she said that, because I do believe he was quite a funny character, darling, quite a character. And she says he hasn't changed one little bit. He's still fixing things up, you see. But I also feel that that brought happiness and joy in as well, because everybody needs that laughter, you know. And I know that Mum, I don't believe that she ever carried lots of weight, darling. But I do believe that before she took her demise to the spirit world, she lost a little bit of weight, darling. Yeah, and because she just said to me, I just almost like wasted away. And she said, but then that was it, you see, that's part of life. And she said, you know, I don't know whether she believed in this or not, but I do believe she had a belief.
Yes.
I do believe, and it was quite a strong belief. And you wouldn't change her. You wouldn't change her, no, because once she had that in her mind, that was it. That was her way. And as I was said in my address, that once it's right for you, it's right for you. And she felt that way, that it was right for her. Oh, she's calling out the name of George, darling. George. But I'm not on family. I feel that I want to go on a friendship or a neighbourly link with George, darling.
Probably going back a way.
Yeah, I felt it was because the way it came in, I didn't feel there was a closeness at all. if you can't place it, just hold it, and I'm sure that you will, because I know when Spirit give it, you got to give it, you know. And it usually half an hour later, when the service is over, people come and say, "Oh, I've got it now," you see. But you see, I have just heard another name, which we don't hear much nowadays, and you're going to have to search for this one as well. Henry. Ooh, that's a difficult one, isn't it? Henry, I know you'll find him. I'm just going to leave him with you because that's all he's given me. Just shouted the name out. It's Henry. I want to go back to almost school days, to when you were a young girl, to find Henry.
It's highly likely because there were a lot of people around that I wouldn't have known their names.
Right. As I say, I have to give him because he's come through. Now, going back to your mum said to me, there's somebody around you at the moment who you're sending out thoughts for that because they've not been terribly well done. Oh, she said, we hear you in the spirit world, dear. She said, we hear it every time, and I know that you send out those healing thoughts. And she said, you know, we hear them, and we're acting on them. And we're doing the best that we can. You see, because she just said, you know, we can't do everything. We can't, you know, create miracles. If something is, you know, if someone is coming, not saying that this person is, but if someone was coming to the end of their life, there's nothing we can do to, you know, make that longer. It's just, you know, the physical that's ready to move on and leave it, you know, stay in the earth plane whilst the spirit moves on. But she said, keep sending out the prayers for this person because they are doing, you know, a lot of good. Also, I've just had my hands placed on my tummy here. And I know there's somebody, if it's not you, there's somebody around you who's having a problem in this area of their body, or who had this when they were on the earth plane, darling. Are you sure?
I think it could be with me, actually.
With you? Because, I mean, I have a hiatus hernia for about 30 years. And I'm only 39, what am I talking about? But, you know, you work with it. You work with it, as you well know. Anyway, it's just that they know what's happening, you see. I also want to tell you that, you see, I keep wanting to go into the country. You see, and I love the countryside. There's nothing quite like it, the fresh air and the green grass and the trees. And I feel that there's so many wonderful memories of the country for you. And that, you know, in your down moments, if you just sit back and think about those happy days in the countryside, you know, with the cattle and everything, and oh, the chickens and it's just wonderful, fresh eggs every day. Oh, she said, I tell you what, those were the days. But as we all say, we all think those were the days, you know, wherever we lived. But she just wants to bring those happy memories back to you, because she says, you know, you were brought up at a time, she said, when things were hard. Oh my goodness, were they hard. She said there was no lying in the morning for us, dear. No, it was up early in the morning and last thing at night you went to bed. And whether you wanted to get up or not, the next day you had to, you see. But she's just bringing those memories back, darling. And she just says, you know, when you have your down moments, just picture the lovely country scenes and everything, and it'll bring you back up there. Not that you have that many down moments, darling. You're not that type of person. But she says she likes the way, oh, hang on, I've got to be careful what I say here. She likes the way you're very straightforward. She says, because you call a shovel and not a spade. And she said, it's not that you look for it. No, she said, but if there's a disagreement, if you don't agree with something, you know, you can stand your corner, but not in a nasty way.
Yeah.
She says, never, she said, she's like me, it was never nasty. It was just, you know, constructive. She's laughing as she says that. She just wants to bring you so much love, darling, she really does. And yeah, I know, I can hear you. And we give each other a clue as when to get off, you know. I have somebody here, darling, that had a hip replacement. Yes, because they're just rubbing my hip here. And I feel that this is someone that's moved on now. You know? Yeah, and she says, I'm all right now, I can run a mile, no bother. Would you just take the love from this lovely mother? And she's just going to give me I want to go to June with you for some anniversaries or birthdays dear. June. Oh, give me some. I want to go to like the 3rd week in June, darling, for a one. Somewhere around about the 23rd of June. If you can't place... If you can't bring it to mind, have a look in that little book where you keep all of, because I know she's given me that, darling. And I also want to go to August and November, darling, with you. Will you just take her love, because she's full of it for you. Thank you. I was nodding off there, I don't know about you. This is what spirits is about, bringing up the vibrations. I want to come to my lovely lady here, darling. Whilst I've been sat there, I've had 2 lovely ladies with me, and I feel... I felt one was on the motherly vibration, yes, but I felt the second lady was mother's mother, grandmother. But I know this lady, both of these ladies, I felt I wanted to look nice. Do you understand? Because like you've got your lovely scarf and your lovely suit and I wanted both these ladies wanted to look nice. Turned out beautifully, hair nice, and in their home, I'm not saying you were frightened to sit down, I don't mean that, but things had their place, if you understand me. Very tidy minds, very tidy minds. The lady knew what she wanted, you know, but I feel a very caring, a very loving lady. I don't feel that I've got a loud lady with either of these 2 ladies, darling, because that's not the way they're coming over to me. I feel more on the gentle side and the private side than the loud side, if you understand. But a lovely way with them. And you knew you were loved. You knew you were loved. Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely. And also, my darling, just a moment, because I had a gentleman coming towards me when I was sitting there in an army uniform. You understand me? And I'm not seeing him, but I'm feeling a gentleman a little bit taller than myself, if you understand. He's pulling my shoulders back. He'll have a hard job, but he's pulling my shoulders back because I'm a bit of a sloucher, you know. And he was a smart man. Now, you'll have to take his word for this. He said he wasn't a bad looker. He said, oh yes, I was very smart, very lovely in my uniform. And he's having a little laugh and a little joke with you, you know. But a nice man, I feel, a very nice man. I feel very much a man who black was black and white was white. No grey areas in between, you know. Tell me the truth. Don't tell me lies. Tell me the truth, and I'm happy with that. But at the same time, a lovely, lovely man I'm getting with this. I don't know who John is. I know it's a common name, but John or Jack from the world of spirit, I've just heard in my ear there. And also, now I heard a name before, and I'm trying to bring it back. I heard when I was sat down the name of Vera.
Yes.
Vera.
Yes, yes.
Now, you know, this is why we must never doubt the world of spirit, because sometimes you can easily let it go, you know, and we shouldn't. We should always bring it. Vera, and I heard another one, and I hope they'll bring that back to me again, because whilst I was sitting there. Also, my darling, you knew a lady that passed with a cancerous condition. Because I feel with this lady it was around this part of the body, but I feel it went more or less in time right through the body, if you understand me. And I feel, I feel very much with this lady. She wasn't aware about it for a while, but then when it took hold, it kind of went through her rather quickly. Do you understand?
Yes.
And in a way, now this sounds very cruel, but in a way her passing was a little bit of a release for her.
Yes.
And that's what she's saying. She says, I'm not trying to be morbid, but it was a release for me, she said, you know. And that's the way we should look at it as well, you know, because we have to mourn for people, of course, but when they're suffering like that, it is a release for them. And she just wants to be remembered to you. I don't know who Joan is, darling. I've just heard the name of Joan. Joan. But I don't feel I'm in family with this name, Joan. Will you just hold on to it? Because I feel it goes back. It might be connected more with Mum. might be connected more with Mum. And I know, oh, when they start giving me old names, I go mad. But like, they do this to me, you know. And I kept hearing the name of Ada. Ada, but I want to go way, way back for that name. Way back in grandmother's day, you know. And Elizabeth. Elizabeth might have been called Betty for short, but Elizabeth. But darling, they're looking at you with such love today. And they're saying to me, they're not worried about you. They're quite happy with the way you are at the moment and way the things are around your life at this moment. Yes, I'm saying nothing's ever 100% perfect, we know that, but they're quite happy health-wise with you, and they want you to keep going on the same pathway, if you will. Oh, I like your mum. I like both the ladies, actually. Somebody did crocheting and knitting. Yeah, because I'm seeing all these, you know, these little doilies and chair back covers and things like that. And I don't know if there's any still around today, but I wouldn't be surprised. But they loved it, you know. And Mum could be talking and she'd be doing this, and she wouldn't drop a stitch or anything, you know. And I understand she made some really lovely pieces as well. Really lovely. Yeah, she just wanted to bring that back as a memory for you as well. But she's saying to me, you had a very happy childhood. Very happy childhood, you know. You are much loved and still are today. Even for those who can't be with you in the physical, you're very loved from those in the world of spirit. And keep the old traditions going, Mum's saying. You know what I mean by that? Yes. She's very happy to see the way you turned out today. Very proud. That's what she means by keep the old traditions going, you know. Somebody must have played the piano, darling, because I'm hearing music. I'm hearing somebody playing the piano. Come on, tell me who it was. Not in the family, I don't feel. Not in the family. But there must have been somebody that gave music lessons. Going way back. I'm going back to school days, darling. A lady, I feel it was. It used to give piano lessons.
I did go to piano lessons. It was a lady.
Yes. And I don't know why, because I remember when we took piano lessons many, many moons ago, and if we made a mistake, we used to get the ruler over the knuckles.
Knitting needles.
Yes, the knitting needle as well, yes. Oh, yes. I taught you not to make mistakes. But never mind. They're just bringing such a lot of love around you, darling, and saying, enjoy this Christmas time. Enjoy it, you know. And let me see. November, darling, there must be an anniversary in the month of November. I feel it could be more like a passing. And also July, there must be anniversaries in July. Yes. And I could give you August, I could give you March also. And I want to give you tons of love and cuddles from those in the world of spirit. Thank you, darling.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Right, I think it's finished. I've had something a little bit strange, and I hope I'm going to be able to place this person. I have a gentleman with me, and he said when he was on the earth plane, he had a very hard life because he wasn't exactly accepted, you know, by society, that he was almost shunned a little bit because he was different. Can anybody place me a gentleman who because of his, I don't know if it was his mind, there was a problem, that just wasn't accepted in society? I hate to let him go. He may not even be on a family link, it may be a neighbourly or a friendship link, because I've had him here whilst I've been sat down. But I'm going to just put him to one side for a moment because I want to come to the gentleman here. Because I had an army condition with you. I had a gentleman who would have spent time in the army, sir. I want to go back to a grandfather times.
Yeah,
so,
there's military there, yeah.
Military, yeah. Because I know I could see him in a military uniform. I wasn't sure. There's me coming in saying army. It could have been Air Force. It could have been, you know, the naval. But I just saw this very upright, quite a tall gentleman. Well, everybody's tall compared to me, you know, and I look up to everyone. but he was very, very smart, very upright, and I felt that this gentleman was what I call the old school, you know, quite strict, and there was right and wrong and no grey in between, you know. But I know that this gentleman too was quite a clever man. Have you got the gentleman that I'm talking about?
So, not family.
No, the gentleman who had the psychological
Oh, right.
problems. I felt that it was family with the military connection. Say no if it's not.
Well,
I'd rather you say no because I can find out why.
There is somebody that I think it might be, but I'm not sure.
You're not sure. But let me see if I can get them to give me a better description. As I say, I know that this particular person I'm talking about is definitely taller than me and quite slender in the build of body, doesn't carry an awful lot of weight. Quite a fit person. You know, he said, especially when I was younger, you know, he was quite a strong person and had a good personality, but I felt he was also very clever, sir. Does that make sense to you?
It does, but not for somebody in the family, in my family.
Doesn't matter if it's not in the family. Never spirit now. It's
Yeah.
never spirit, it's always the medium gets it wrong. So blame the medium, never spirit.
Not blaming you.
Honestly. No, I know you're not. I know you're not. So but it's always the medium because you see we're human. So if you can play somebody that's outside of the family that was like that, then that's good because he just wants to come through. Obviously he knows you. And you're probably the only contact that he has, only way of communicating with somebody because he wouldn't have been of this persuasion, you see. And so on seeing you in the church, you're the way that he can make a communication. Because he was, you see, I also get the feeling so that this wasn't just like military service, you know, the 2 years in. I felt that he had a position in the army. Does that make sense? Because he was showing me epaulets or stripes or something that would distinguish him as an officer of some kind, you see. But a very, very bright man. But he's saying to me, he's been keeping his eye on you for quite some time. Oh.
In a nice way.
Well, I wouldn't know. I shan't ask him. We're not letting any secrets out here. No. It's just because he said to me, he said that you too are a very intelligent man. Now you're going to deny that, but he thinks you're a very clever man, a very intelligent man. And that I don't know how long you've been coming into a spiritualist church, but I feel that there's still an amount of searching for you because you have to find, he says, you have to find, as I said in my address, the things that you can accept, your level of acceptance. And it won't feel right to you until you've had that proof, until you've found that level. So he wants you to keep going and coming back and searching, not only like coming into a spiritual church, read up on things, which I do believe you do. And that you know, you're a good bookworm, you get your eyes in a book there, you enjoy it. And but he wants you to continue doing that, he said, because all of a sudden you will just read something and something will click within your mind and say, I've got it. Now it sounds a bit far-fetched, but strange how some things happen at times. So just watch out for that, because it'll just be something in a sentence that will open your mind up and say, I've heard that before, but now it's beginning to make sense. You know, you see, I should be careful how I say this. I'm getting a lovely lady coming through, and she comes to as being quite posh to me. And I believe that I have your grandmother here, and I believe that she would have considered herself, you know, I wouldn't say posh, but you know, fairly well heeled, you know, and but she's a lovely lady, a very nice lady. Again, of her years, you know, she could put you in your place if she had to, but I don't believe that she ever went out of her way to do that. I believe she had a good heart, and I believe that she cared very much for you. Now she's talking about a brother, and I don't know if she means your brother or her brother. And I don't like asking questions, but I have to say, do you have a brother, sir?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, because she just said, I want to send love to brother. So it has to be your brother, because obviously of her age, he wouldn't be around any
Yeah.
longer. I would doubt. I would doubt. And so she's given me the impression that he could do with just a little bit of help at the moment. I don't know when you've
I
last...
wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know.
We don't talk.
Oh, right. Well, that then he does need help. well, you know that,
I've tried, but no.
you've tried. I know some people you just can never get through to. But what she's saying to me, your grandmother says, never give up. Never give up, because there'll be a time, she says, when you will need that help.
Is she with the gentleman in the uniform?
I don't get the feeling that she's with him. No, I don't get the feeling that she's with him. I believe I'm on grandmother on your... Hang on now, tell me. I feel it's on your father's side of the family, sir. And, I feel that I'm a very upright lady, very smart, and also quite clever lady as well, sir. And she's bringing this through to you. She wants you to keep searching. That's the main gist of your message, to keep searching, because, we all have our different views on things, but it's only by constantly searching that we find our own level, she says. She says, I wouldn't have gone to this place. Oh, no. Not she's not given me that impression, but I do believe she had a strong belief. Yeah, but I felt it would be more of the orthodox belief, And fine, which is lovely.
Yeah.
Which is lovely.
He's here now.
Wow. It's funny, with this gentleman that I had who had a little strangeness. Sir, I hate to leave anybody hanging. Did you ever know anybody that had like Down syndrome or anything like that? Yeah, that's where I'm coming from. I didn't like to really use that word, sir. Well, just wanted to be recognised, that's all. Not even saying anything to me, just that you wanted to be recognised. And I'm so glad that you were able to place that, because it's not always easy to, to say something like that. And he just wants to be remembered to you. I don't know why I'm getting boats with you, sir. Oh, right, because I want to be on the water, Oh, and it's most enjoyable. It's something that's a hobby of mine. I really enjoy it. And, and I always feel quite at peace on the sea, your grandmother said. You feel that you've got the whole wide world around you and nothing can disturb you. And she loves that. She said she loves it when you're quiet. Not that you're loud, but she loves it when you're quiet, because it gives you time to think, because she said in your busy life, you don't always have time to sit back and relax and, to think about things. But she said, it's lovely when you're out on the water, that's the best time when you can relax, especially when it's not rough. We worked on cruise liners and that for many, many years, so I know what it's like when it gets rough. But she wants to just bring you such an awful lot of love. And the gentleman in the military uniform, he wants to be remembered to you. And he says to me, keep going. With what you've got up here, there's no holding you back. You know what I'm talking about. You don't brag about it.
I know who you were talking about. Now I know.
Good,
Thank
good,
you.
good. Thank you.
And thank him. Thank you, both of them, because
And see if he'll give me any anniversaries. I want to go to January with you, and I think there should. Men are terrible at birthdays. I know what we are like. My mother used to have to. She was one of 16. Oh,
wow.
they used to do that. And she would say to your Auntie Florrie's birthday next week, because we wouldn't know. And men we're all like that, aren't we? But I know in January there should be either a birthday. They always come as birthdays, anniversaries, or passings, and it could be either because they never tell us what, which I wish they did.
It makes sense now.
And also July and also October. And I leave that with you. All the love from your grandmother and regards from this gentleman. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Just a few notices coming up. Our online activities this week. Monday night at 7 o'clock and Saturday morning at 9 a.m. we have an online meditation. Saturday night at 7 p.m. we have Susanna Victor, and we'll be broadcasting on Zoom on Saturday night. We had Susanna a couple of weeks ago and we had a few internet issues, so she's coming back on Zoom on Saturday night. Live here in-house on Wednesday at 3 o'clock, we have David and Irene Jackson taking our service. And on Sunday at 3 o'clock, Andy Ford will be with us. These services are available to be here within the church in person. Doors open 2:45 for a 3 o'clock prompt start, and also available to view only online. There'll be no service on Wednesday the 23rd. However, the next day, which is Christmas Eve, we will be having a service at 3 o'clock, and Mark Stone will be taking that service. There are tickets available for that service because we haven't turned anybody away this year so far, and I am not going to chance it on our last service of 2020 having to say I'm so sorry you can't come in. So tickets are available online. If you have issues getting the tickets, drop me a message and I'm more than happily help you out. After the service on Christmas Eve, we're going to have a little hibernation, a little rest until the 10th of January. That concludes the notices. Gentlemen, if I could ask for the closing prayer, thank you.
Let's just close our eyes for a moment, and if I take this off, it'll be easier. Sorry about that. Let us just close our eyes for a moment and go into the silence. Infinite and ever-loving God, in whom we live, move, and have our being. We thank you for the pleasure that is coming towards us as the Christmas time approaches. And we ask that the lessons of that Christmas message will continue to take us throughout our lives on this earth plane. We ask too that we continue to seek the nectar of your truth, your love, your compassion, and your understanding, and that we will take that out into our everyday lives and try to be an example to all that we come into contact with. Now, in wishing each and every one of you a very pleasant time at this Christmas time of the year, we ask that as you leave this building today, that you leave in peace, in love, in joy, and that you go home in safety. This we ask in and through thy name, which is eternal love. Amen. And may we wish you all a very happy Christmas and a better year next year in 2021 than we've all experienced this year. It certainly couldn't be worse. So have a lovely time, and thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Absolutely beautiful service as always, but you excelled yourself today. Thank you. I really did. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Thank you so much. And all our best wishes. Is it what a big birthday? So you said you're 39, so it must be 40. Oh dear.
Double
Oh yeah, we'll stick at 40. That's much nicer. All the best wishes for your birthdays.
Thank you.
Thank you all for wonderful people who have attended here in church today. It's always a pleasure to see people back within the church. And a big thank you to all of those joining us online. And for our Nordic friends, hey, vi ses. I don't know what I just said, so if it's rude, don't blame me. So it comes that time. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And as to reflect in the prayer, peace, love and joy to you all as you leave. Thank you.
I think you're going to stay there now.
Yes, it'll be my permanent